August 16th, 1940. 20,000 feet over Southampton, Flight Lieutenant James Nicholson's Hawker Hurricane is screaming, the Merlin engine at its absolute limit. He's spotted a Messerschmitt Bf 109 and he has maybe 30 seconds to close the distance. But the German pilot simply glances back, sees the hurricane and opens his throttle. Within moments, the Bf 109 pulls away 50 yards, 100, then 200. Nicholson's airspeed is 290 miles per hour, everything his plane can give. The Messerschmitt is doing over 320. The gap widens. Another one gets away. This wasn't a one-time frustration. It was the daily reality for hurricane pilots during the Battle of Britain. They climbed into their cockpits knowing they had almost no chance of catching a Bf 109 that chose to run. The numbers were brutal. The Bf 109E could hit 342 miles per hour. The Hurricane Mk1, on a good day, maybe 316. That 26 mile per hour difference gave the Luftwaffe complete tactical control. They could attack whenever they wanted and escape whenever they wanted. Squadron combat reports from that summer read like a diary of despair, pursued enemy aircraft. He drew out of range, closed to 400 yards but could not reduce distance. Enemy aircraft dived away. I was unable to follow. The pilots weren't failing. Their courage was legendary. But their aircraft simply wasn't fast enough. Now, the Spitfire was faster, reaching 362 miles per hour. But Fighter Command only had about 300 of them. The backbone of the defense, nearly 600 aircraft, were Hurricanes. These were the workhorses that would ultimately shoot down more German aircraft than all other defenses combined. But in those desperate weeks, they were being asked to do the impossible, chase an enemy they couldn't catch. Morale was cracking. Pilots returned from sorties furious and exhausted. As one airman lamented, "We can see them, but we can't reach them." The Air Ministry knew the problem. The engineers knew it. Everyone knew the hurricane was too slow, and officially nothing could be done about it. Except there was something, and it came from the most unlikely source imaginable. A handful of flight sergeants armed with spanners, intuition, and a completely forbidden idea. Every ground crewman who worked on a hurricane saw the problem staring them in the face. It was the massive three-bladed constant-speed propeller. A masterpiece of engineering, it could automatically adjust its blade angle or pitch for takeoff and cruising. It used hydraulics to change the pitch, a fine, steep angle for takeoff and climb, and a coarser, flatter angle for high-speed level flight. It worked beautifully, but it had a fatal limitation, one designed for peacetime, not for a desperate war. Inside the propeller hub were physical stops. These little metal pins prevented the blades from rotating beyond a certain angle. A safety measure to avoid overstressing the engine and propeller. It was safe, but it was also slow. Ground crews, guys like Flight Sergeants Bunny Roos and Bill Minns, did the math themselves. They realized that if they could increase that maximum course pitch angle by just 3 or 4 degrees, letting the blades bite the air more aggressively, the hurricane might gain 10, maybe even 15 miles per hour. That could be enough to finally catch a fleeing Bf 109. But the rules were absolute. The ROV's Maintenance Bible, Air Publication 129, strictly forbade any unauthorized modifications. Any change to the engine or propeller required Air Ministry approval, extensive testing, and months of paperwork. Even in wartime, you were looking at a 6-month delay. The logic was sound in peacetime. Altering propeller geometry without proper testing could destroy an aircraft. Push it too far, and the propeller could vibrate itself apart or tear right off the engine in mid-flight. But desperation breeds invention. And on the night of August 22nd, 1940, at Martlesham Heath, Flight Sergeant James Fitter decided he couldn't wait any longer. He'd seen too many young pilots return, defeated, outflown by an enemy they could see but never touch after dark, with just a torch and his toolbox. Fitter walked out to Hurricane L1842. The job he was about to do was simple and completely illegal. He removed the propeller's spinner dome to access the pitch control mechanism. He found the small collar with the metal pin that physically limited the propeller's pitch. From the factory, this stop was set to about 23 degrees. Fitter removed that collar, took it to the workshop, and carefully filed the stop pin down by 3 millimeters. He then reassembled everything, checking the seals and cleaning away every single metal filing, leaving no trace of his work. The entire job took him just 47 minutes. That propeller could now rotate to roughly 26 degrees, just 3 degrees more. But it was a change that could potentially alter the course of the battle. At dawn, Flying Officer Peter Dean was scheduled to fly L1842. Fitter pulled him aside and confessed exactly what he'd done. Dean had 2 choices. He could report the unauthorized modification and see Fitter court-martialed, his career ruined. Or he could take the plane up and see if the crazy, illegal idea actually worked. He chose to fly. Dean climbed to 15,000 feet, leveled off, and pushed the throttle forward. He watched his airspeed indicator climb past 300 miles per hour, then 310, 315, 320. The needle finally steadied at an incredible 328 miles per hour, a full 12 miles per hour faster. He almost shouted into his radio before remembering that it would record the evidence of a criminal act. When he landed, he taxied over to Fitter, climbed out of the cockpit, and quietly told him the news. It worked. The modification was a success. Word spread like wildfire, not through official channels, but through whispers on the flight line from one ground crew to the next. Soon, sergeants on other squadrons were secretly performing the Fitter modification under the cover of darkness. They were breaking every rule in the book, risking their careers to give their pilots a fighting chance, and it made a difference. Suddenly, hurricanes were catching Bf 109s. The hunters were no longer the hunted. A few weeks later, the Air Ministry caught wind of what was happening, but instead of courts-martial, they sent engineers to investigate. They confirmed the performance gains and, in a rare moment of wartime pragmatism, officially sanctioned the modification. This wasn't a story about generals or politicians. It was a story of unsung heroes on the ground, the mechanics and fitters who, with courage and a file, gave the pilots of the Battle of Britain the edge they so desperately needed. They saw a problem and they risked everything to fix it. Their ingenuity, born from desperation, is a powerful reminder that sometimes victory is forged not in the halls of power, but in the quiet, determined actions of those on the front line. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden histories. We'll see you in the next one.